Welcome to another installment of SportsOTHP Consulting in the community. I'm on location. Normally, I come to you from the lab, but I'm in Oklahoma, somewhere where I never thought I would end up venturing to. That would be on my list, but I'm glad that I came because I just met up with a great social media influencer, George, and he had a great friend come by that I am very happy I had the chance to meet. And you see sitting in front of you, Mr. Jerry Cox, and you see the man right there, Big George, who made all this possible just by being the great guy that he is. And Mr. Jerry Cox has a very unique story and an inspiring story on so many different levels. We're not going to get into all of that now because we got to tease you a little bit because be on the lookout. We're going to have some things coming. Might even be a web series, a book, maybe even a movie. Because trust me, I've listened to his story for the last couple of days, and I know I don't know it all, but I guarantee you it's a page turner or something that's going to have you hitting the pause button to go use the bathroom so you don't miss nothing when the movie come on. But Mr. Jerry Cox, please introduce yourself to the world and let us know who you are.
Well, Jerry Cox, my story is definitely unique, and I'll start out by saying I was a child that nobody wanted. My biological mother, did not want me, and she abused me at every turn that she had the opportunity to abuse me, and I mean in every way you could imagine a child could be hurt. My biological mother did it to me. By God's grace, at the age of 6, I had an adopted family that came into my life, and that was the greatest gift at that point that God had ever given me, was bringing that family into my life. Because for the first time in my life, I knew what a family was. Up until that point, the only thing I knew what a family was looking at it on TV. And by having a mother and a father, I never knew who my biological father was. I couldn't tell you if the man was sitting right next to me, who he was. But my adopted family, my mother, she never missed any of my sports games. My biological mother never showed up to a game. Mm-hmm. And by having a grandfather in my life who was definitely a very, very hard man, and he was a no-nonsense man. But the thing about him is he was very respected, very well known, and he taught me and showed me how a real man is supposed to be. The love that I saw him give my grandmother and how he treated my grandmother is something we don't see today, and that's what we're missing in this world today. We're missing the old grandparents. But for me, having them in my life and having them to guide me and help me as I grew older and showed me what was right and what was wrong, gave me the opportunity to believe that, God is real. He is very real, and he will always put the people in your life that needs to be there. And I'm living proof of that.
Yeah, that's a rough upbringing. Luckily, God intervened and brought that adoptive family into your life. And like you said, taught you what family was about, gave you that nurturing, caring environment that you needed to be able to contribute to society, be a part of society, and, have that foundation, as you said, having your grandfather teach you what it was to be a man. And like you said, that's one of the biggest issues right now in our community, and I feel like in our country, is we have a lot of kids with fathers or male role models and positive role models in their life. And I hate to say this, but I don't really hate to say this because I said it over and over again. Unfortunately, now we don't have parents anymore. We have people with kids. There's a big difference. And some of you people with kids, I know you're going to lash out at me because I don't have any and all of that good stuff. I've raised kids before that weren't mine through relationships. I have 3 nieces and nephews that I've been there since day one at the hospital. So I might not be a biological father, but I guarantee I've probably been there for them more than most of you have been there for your kids. I definitely agree with that, Jerry. So going that back, I know you mentioned your athletic prowess when we were having a good discussion the other day, having some of the accolades at your high school and some of the accomplishments that you made at a young age through the color barrier and just in sports in general. So give us a little background on some of those heroics you were telling me about that had me with my mouth wide open.
Well, I was a very, very good athlete. Football, baseball, and basketball. I was better in baseball than I was in football, but I did excel in the sports. And coming up, unfortunately, back then, my football coach was not the nicest person in the world.
Most are.
But, as long as I was hitting that end zone and scoring touchdowns, I was one of his best players. But off the field, I was just another N-word to him. But like I said, I excel more in baseball, and I think one of my biggest and best accomplishments that I look at, and I tell my kids and my grandkids as they get old enough, is that I was blessed to be one of the first of two freshmen to ever play a high school baseball all-star game in the state of Georgia. Went on to play in that all-star game, actually played against Hank Aaron's son. And in that game, I hit a home run that almost went out of the old Fulton County Stadium. And at that time after the game, Hank Aaron actually signed that baseball. Got to meet him. One of the greatest honors of my life was meeting him. And that baseball now sits in my high school in a trophy case. So, and it's been there for many, many years. That's one of my accomplishments that I tell my kids. That's why they got all that athletic ability from their dad.
Definitely. Well, you definitely got to take a trip to that high school and get a picture of that baseball. You gotta treasure those moments. You're a icon, a sports icon in your neck of the woods that need to be recognized. You might not be the Hank Aaron's or Jackie Robinsons, but you still did some groundbreaking things, like I say, being the first black player into the All-Star game that wasn't a senior, and the fact that as a high school player you almost hit the ball out of Fulton County Stadium. That's amazing in itself, because I used to watch the Braves in the 90s with the great pitching staff, so I know how big that stadium was. So for a high school player to be almost get out of the stadium, that's yeah. So we got to make a road trip to get there. So after you finish high school, what path did you decide to take athletically, or what path did you decide to take after you left school? Because I'm sure you had some scholarship offers.
I actually left school my senior year in high school. I had, because of the issues with my biological mother and other issues that was going on, I left high school my senior year, and my grandfather was pissed. He was, to say the least, he was pissed. But when I left high school, I turned down 7 scholarships. 4 of the scholarships were for football, 3 were for baseball. And if I would have taken one of the scholarships and went to the University of Georgia, I would have been competing against Herschel Walker for the running back position. But my life took a different turn, and I joined the military. My biological mother was more than happy to sign the waiver for me to join the service. I was only 17, so I had to have a waiver signed. And then I started my career in the military. I went to Fort Jackson for basic training. Then I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma for my radar school. Then I was assigned to Fort Hood, Texas, which was my first duty station. Then I was sent over to Korea, where I worked on radar site 13 on the demilitarized zone. And then unfortunately, when I was in the military, one of the worst things that could have ever happened to me happened, along with the tremendous amount of racism that was in the service at that time. I happened to be on the firing range that day that they had one of the worst shootings in military history. It was called the Ingham Range Massacre. It happened June 5th, 1981. 2 soldiers shot and killed 4 of their squad leaders because of racism and hatred. and I knew the guys, and I literally was on that firing range that day. I was 19 years old, and that changed my life forever because I forever now deal with anxiety and PTSD, trying to cope.
Jerry, so you had your time in the military. You got out, and I believe truck driving was on your radar. That's a very nice. I did a little truck driving, never did over the road or anything, but I did. I do miss the shifting the gears of the 18-wheeler every now and again. Give us a little bit of background of your 40 years on the road.
Well, truck driving was the thing that really saved me when I got out of the military, because I was isolated, and I liked being by myself. And being in the truck was the perfect job for me. And of course, being a young man and growing up and being able to go overseas and see something different than my little bitty, hometown, other than the end of one side of town to the next. I mean, I was able and blessed that's one thing the military did do good for me. It gave me an opportunity to see the world and to see that there was more than just the end of the road of the town. So I love traveling.
Yeah.
And being a truck driver gave me the opportunity to go to every state in the United States and into Canada, and see things not from being in an airplane, but being down on the ground. And you can stop, and the camaraderie back when I started, and the trucking industry was the best thing in the world.
Yeah, the CB radio.
Yes. The camaraderie that you made with the friends and the people, even though, this is something I can truly say. Back then, trucking transition racism. And don't get me wrong, you had it out there, but you also made friends with people of all different races, all different colors. And if somebody saw you broke down on the side of the road back in the day, you'd have 4 or 5 trucks pulled over. And it wasn't all whites, it wasn't all blacks, it was a mixture of people. And between those people, they found a way to get you going. And then they stayed with you
to make sure
you got to the truck stop and made sure you were safe. That's why I love trucking.
That was a different time. That was, like you said, when it didn't matter, because you had the common bond of being truck drivers. Even though you looked different and had different backgrounds and different stories, the fact that y'all had that common bond of being truck drivers and knowing the risk and knowing the all the things that y'all go through, that it transcends color. And you can go back to the one of my favorite movies, the football movie, and now I'm drawing a blank on it all of a sudden, with Denzel Washington. Remember the Titans. Yeah, that. Like I say, it transcends. It doesn't. If you remember the football practice scene when everybody was segregated and the black players played with theirs and the white players played with theirs, but until that common bond, like, hey, we're all football players. It doesn't matter what color we are, and that team went on to be undefeated and win the state title as the first integrated team in Virginia, where I live, maybe 15 minutes away from that school. So you can see what happens when you put race aside and you have a common goal and working as a team, what it can do. And like you say, truck driving, I had a little bit of experience, but even when the truck drivers would come into the warehouse where I worked at, there was always, camaraderie. Even if it was somebody from a different plant, they'd crack jokes and, talk slick, oh, your plant sucks, or that is and this. But but they still, at the end of the day, they were still friends. And, I need some of this. Do you got any extra? Oh yeah, I got you. Don't worry about it. So that's what made this country great. Like I said, that's what made trucking great, because even in those times that you came up doing it, where it was highly racial tensions in society, it transcended that in the trucking world.
It did.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And the friendships that I've made over the years, a lot of the guys I still talk to, some of them have passed on, unfortunately. Even now, friends that I still have that's out there on the road. I retired in 2022, but a little bit about me about up until that point. 40 years behind the wheel of the truck is a long time. And you learn and you see a lot of things. But it was a lot of difficulties getting to that 40 years. In 2008, I was wrongfully convicted in the state of Texas. At that point, I had custody of my youngest son. Used to take him out on the road with me. He used to go there. He loved being in the truck.
Yeah.
But anyway, in 2008, I was wrongfully convicted. I was given a 24-month sentence. I served 14 months of that 24-month sentence before my case was overturned. The only reason my case got overturned, the judge who sentenced me had a heart attack and died.
Wow.
So he was replaced by a different judge. My case was the first case that was on appeal. I still remember the judge's name. His name was Harold Miner. He took the office. He sat on the bench on a Monday morning at 8 a.m. in the morning, looked over my case by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He had completely thrown my case out and overturned it. And to this day, and he's passed on now, to this day, he was the only person that ever apologized to me.
Wow.
And this is the kicker to it all. The attorney general at the time, or he was actually the district attorney in Amarillo at the time, and he had ran to become the attorney general for the state of Texas, but he was still in Amarillo. He hadn't taken that position. And that same man is now the sitting governor of Texas, Greg Abbott. And he knew I was innocent and didn't care.
Wow.
But you were talking earlier about, how we have to learn to forgive before we can move on with our lives. And we have to understand, and that's the truest statement that you could have ever made, because it took me years, because I lost everything I owned. I lost my son. I spent the next 10 years moving all over the state of Texas, trying to get him back. My CEO, Jake, you talked to him yesterday. He can tell my story about that because he was there with me every step of the way. When I completed one thing that they wanted me to do, they moved my son. So I packed up and moved. So for literally 10 years, I moved all over the state of Texas. They never had the intentions of getting him back. And unfortunately, my son got mixed up in games. He felt that was the only way that he was going to be able to make it, although every other weekend I was down to see him or spent time with him and picked him up. But once he got into that system and fell into a group that he thought that was his family, my son committed, in 2019, he robbed a grocery store, a little small, convenience store. A whole couple there in Tyler, Texas. And the so-called brothers that he was with, that was with him, were the ones that turned him in and got the reward.
Wow.
His friends, his family. And now my son is he's in the third year of a 25-year sentence, which brings me to why I started my nonprofit, to help people that are incarcerated and have been incarcerated. When they get out of prison, I help them get their CDL driver's license and get them into the trucking industry, to give them a second chance, which is why I named my company Second Chance. I know better than anybody what it feels like to be inside of a prison. I know what it feels like when people look at you when you walk out of a prison and how they look down on you, and they don't understand. Until you walk in another man or another woman's shoes, you have no right to judge anybody.
What's the name of that trucking school again, Jerry?
My company is JLC Second Chance Trucking, and I'm based out of Salem Springs, Arkansas. But we're able to help people pretty much anywhere, as long as they can get here to Arkansas. I can get them into the school, get them their CDL license, and get them a good paying job once they complete the school. We're a lot different than most of especially the technical schools or the colleges, because when you pay all that money to go to the school, they don't tell you you're not going to get a job because you have no experience. The driving school that I work with, everybody that teaches at that school are all ex-marshals and police officers. They take the time with you. If it takes longer than 30 days for you to get your CDL license, they will sit there and work with you. A lot of people, when they come out of prison, they have learning disabilities, they have other kind of disabilities, or they have, things that they can't pick up on, stuff as quickly as other people. So one reason I deal with the people that I do is that they will take the time and make sure when you leave that school, you will have your CDL license.
It's not just about checking the box. It's actually making sure that they're understanding what's going on, and they're actually, going to achieve the goal of getting a CDL and hopefully changing their life for the better. So that's the key right there. With the people that want to make their lives better and make that choice. I spoke to one of his students yesterday, and he really has a desire that he wants to do right. He wants to, be a better person than he was the day before. He doesn't want to go back in that lifestyle and doesn't want to go back to prison or jail or wherever he was. And as George said, maybe I should have been there. Luckily, by God's blessing, I didn't end up there with some of the things that I was involved in my younger days. But when I hear someone have that passion and have that will and want to do better, because I've had that same passion myself, then I have no choice but to try to help them achieve their goal. And I spoke to him, and we're in talks of trying to help him, better his situation. And that's what it's all about. We were just speaking about with the white George about what made this country great is we cared about our fellow man. We cared about uplifting someone that wasn't doing as well as us. It wasn't that, oh, well, I had to do it, you should have to do it too, and pull your bootstraps up and yada, yada, yada. Everyone isn't blessed the same way. I'm looking at now.
No, they're not.
Yeah, I'm looking at 20 years since my dad passed away in another month and a half. I had my dad in my life for 27 years. As Jerry said, he didn't have his dad in his life for 27 seconds. So how am I going to look down on someone else who didn't come up the same way I did, who didn't have those morals and those values instilled in him, and then talk down on them, or you should be able to do it too because I had to do it? No, we know the level field isn't level. So if I have some knowledge or something I can do to help you better yourself because you want to do better, then yes, I'm not obligated to do it. But as a good human being, you should feel like, okay, let me help this person because I know someone helped me to get here. So why not pay it forward? Exactly. So Jerry, we've been talking about your school, and I believe you have just had your first graduate. Can tell us about this young man that has completed the journey and has made your nonprofit and your dream, come true, to have that first person to, leave prison, come out, go through your program and successfully complete it and get ready to get on the road as a truck driver. Please tell us about this young man.
I am so proud. His name is Ricky Hernandez, and matter of fact, I was on the telephone with him today. He had his interview. It went great. He's should be now have finished his physical and his drug test, and next week he will officially make his dream come true, and he will be driving his first truck. And he'll be out with a trainer, but still, when I look back over my years and when I started driving, it was totally different. My uncle taught me how to drive in a cornfield, and he basically taught me how to drive a truck. And then that weekend, that Sunday, he took me out on the road and made sure I could keep the truck in the lane and I wouldn't go off the side of the road.
Yeah.
And he had a buddy that owned a trucking company. That Monday, he went up there to him and said, "Hey, look, nephew, you need a job. I done showed him the basics. He can keep it in the lane, but everything else he gonna have to learn." And the guy looked at me and pointed. He said, "The truck is over here. The trailer's over here. Load's got to be in California. Don't wreck my truck."
Wow.
And that's kind of how.
That's how I got started.
And by God's grace, man, we were talking about how God will always put people in your life at the right time. That day, I didn't know anything about other than I could hook up the trailer, I could drive the truck straight. I didn't know nothing about no logbook.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even know how to talk on the CB. And I had passed 3 scale houses.
Oh, no.
Now, look, hey, I'm thinking that they rest areas. I thought they were rest areas. I mean, I saw the trucks going in.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take them a break. And after that third one,
Uh,
these three old drivers, and to this day, I still say that those were angels from God above. They were older gentlemen. One of them pulled up next to me and he started honking his horn. And, you know, he kind of pointed at me and I picked up the CB and he yelled at me and said, "Man, what are you doing?" and I just kind of shook my head. He said, "You passed that scale back there." And I told him, I said, "I thought there was a rest there." And then, of course, he asked me, "How long you been driving?" I said, "It's my first trip."
my first run.
And he said, "Where are you going?" And I told him I was going out to California. And he said, "Boy, if there's a rest area up there, you pull your butt up in there. And we're going to," well, he said, you're going to kill yourself. Yes, you ain't going to make it out to California. And the funny thing of it was, those three gentlemen, they stayed with me. It took 4 days to get out there. They stayed with me every step of the way.
Wow.
And each time we would stop for the night, they would teach me what I needed to do and how to do my logbook so I could understand it so I wouldn't get into trouble. And as we started getting out west, you know, where you really got into some serious mountains, they really walked me and talked me through how I needed to go up and down the mountain. And to this day, you know, I still, when I did drive, when I'll go up and down a mountain, I don't care how many people passed me in a truck. I always went down at the speed that was safe to me. But, you know, the gentleman that really taught me the most, he was delivering about a mile up the road from where I was living at out in California. And we got there about 2 o'clock in the morning. He literally stayed with me until the sun came up, teaching me how to back my truck up. So I didn't know how.
Oh, wow.
And I still say to this day, those were angels that God had sent me from above, because if not, I never would have.
Yeah, you
I
probably
never would have. I would have killed myself.
Yeah, but going up them mountains, yeah. If you don't hit them gears right, boys, that's
I
trouble.
would have killed myself.
Yeah, that's trouble. That's yeah. Well, like you said, a different day in truck driving. He just say, "Oh, you got your license? All right, there go the truck. There go the trailer. Go ahead and go. Just bring it back with gas."
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But you know, like I said, as far as with Ricky, I'm so proud of that young man. And you know, for me, all I want to do is try to give back and help people that want to help themselves. And like we were talking, man, you know, everybody tells you, "Oh, you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps." Like I said, everybody wasn't born the same way. You know, everybody didn't have the same upbringing. And if you don't have any bootstraps to pull, how can you pull them up, let alone have the boots to put on your feet?
Amen.
So I believe it was Clarence Thomas was the one that always said that, and I'm not going to really get into politics here, but I will say this: for a man to be in the position that he is in and got to that position because of affirmative action, is the very person that is destroying and has destroyed affirmative action to help other people. He is the very definition of somebody that got to the top and stepped on the shoulders of other people, like Thurgood Marshall and other great people that tried to help us. He stood on their shoulders, and then he turned around and took the ladder and threw the ladder away and took the dirt and just threw it over everybody. But again, I'm not going to get into politics anymore.
Yeah, he has his own bed to lie in, and you know, there's one person's going to judge him, and we'll deal with that later on. But we're going to get with the truck driver school. So you had your first, finally have your first success story. Hopefully next week he'll be departing on his first journey across this great country. Yeah, he'll be making his first run. I always loved the favorite part of driving, because I wasn't over the road driver, but I used to love backing them up. That was my favorite part, of backing them up.
It took me a minute.
Yeah, the opposite and everything. Yeah, finding that pivot point. I actually miss, because my buddy, he's still a yard jockey down in Texas right now for UPS, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I love it. I ain't never leaving this job. I don't even got to get out the cab no more. It's a button I push to get it. Boom, they get me on the CB. I sit out there and just yard jockey for the whole night." Yeah, he got the gravy job. So I was like, I do miss driving every now and again, but I like my new career. I'm good. That's okay.
I miss being out on the road, but because of my health reasons and other things, and then my mental capacity, like I said, 40 years is a very, very long time. And in that 40-year span, I was able to achieve something that is very, very important to me. And I know you asked about the rings that I have on my fingers, and one of them is for 5 million miles of accident-free driving and safety. And for someone that never went to a driving school and basically, learned out on my own, to be blessed to get this accomplishment, this is equivalent to winning a Super Bowl in the trucking industry. You know how hard it is to drive 1 million miles.
5 million.
I've been blessed, but in that time, it took a big toll on me. But when I talk to my students or the people that want to go to school, I tell them, shoot for this, aim for this. You don't have to get there, but aim for it, and it'll keep you a good driver. It'll bring happiness to you and your family. But I'm excited to talk to him next week when he makes his first
run. Yeah. Is he going over the road or is he going to be a local driver?
He's doing a regional run right now. They're going to be going down to, my memory serves me right, they're going to be making a run down to El Paso.
Oh, okay.
Turn around to El Paso.
Nice. Nice little trip. Get him on the road, get his feet wet. So yeah, I hope he enjoys himself. I know, like I said, I never got a chance to get on the open road, but I just do a little yard jockeying. I used to love playing around and moving trailers around. So definitely have a little bit of insight. So I know if he wants to do that, he's definitely going to have a good time as long as he stays safe and stay out of the DMV area with all the crazy drivers. So if you got any loads, stay down this way. I know it's a little crazy driving down here, but in the DC, Maryland area, it's you just stay down this way. I'm not in your first couple of years.
Stay away from the East Coast.
Yeah.
Stay away from the East Coast.
No doubt. So, Jerry, before we wrap up, I know we briefly spoke about your, military, and we spoke about some of the repercussions, and we, myself and my business partner have a CBD therapeutic rub and CBD company. And, he mentioned that, he's on some medications for those ailments. 13 different pharmaceuticals that, we at RX Sports are telling people. We know people are in constant pain, and some of these pharmaceuticals aren't the best for you. So try some of our natural products and see how it works. Jerry has been on these pills for a while. And yesterday was the first day that he had ever tried anything besides that. He tried one of our oral supplements that helps counter anxiety. And I will let Jerry give you a little bit of background on what he felt like before and after he took the dose.
I can definitely tell you the difference between my average day when I wake up and I take 13 pills just to function and make it through the day. And then I have to take 4 pills at night. But, what I took yesterday, I felt better than I've ever felt in my life. I mean, these guys watch me run. I'm just bebopping. And it was a totally different experience. And I am definitely, and I definitely mean, I am definitely going to be using this product because the feeling it gave me, it calmed me down more than I've ever been calmed. It gave me an opportunity where I could literally comprehend what people were saying to me. It got me from being my isolated self. I'm usually isolated. I usually stay away from everybody. I hardly ever leave my house. But I can tell you, yesterday we stood here and we talked about things. I expressed things to Carol that if I hadn't taken that supplement yesterday, there's no in the world I would have been doing what I did yesterday.
Yeah, I definitely saw a difference. We met what was it, Sunday? I met you outside. You were a little bit slow, your knees, your back, you were aching a little bit, and that's the beauty of our supplement. That
I was running up the steps.
Yeah, it's good for anxiety, but it also cures inflammation in the body. And by the middle of yesterday, I saw Jerry go up the steps the night before. He took his time, one step at a time. Yesterday, I could have swore I seen him going up them steps like Rocky in the movie, like jump running back and down them steps with no problem. So
I went up those steps up to my room up there. I know 6 or 7 times yesterday, and I'm bebopping. And the thing that was funny because you was laughing at me because I was humming.
You're feeling good.
I did. I had never And all the time, and I've taken that medication for a number of years. And a matter of fact, I took it again this morning when I first came down this morning. You could tell the difference because I even brought it up.
Yeah.
And I said, can you see the difference between me now and yesterday when I had taken that little supplement that y'all gave me? And then your wife gave it to me, before she had to do what she had to do. And now
Feeling the same way.
I'm feeling the same way. Like I said, I'm buying it.
Definitely. Yeah, you can go to rxsports.com and pull it up, and you can set it up for a 30-day automatic refill. It's a little bit of discount, and you'll make sure you'll have it delivered to your door. No muss, no fuss, and to help you feel as good as Jerry's feeling. And with all of the things that he has going on, 13 pharmaceuticals that they've had him prescribed on for so long, that he says with this product, after trying it once and twice, he's felt better than he's ever felt on those pharmaceuticals. So stay tuned. You will be hearing more from RX Sports, but be on the lookout. I appreciate you, Mr. Jerry, for taking the time telling us the life trajectory and the unique need for him to want to give back and help others that's been through his situation and worse situations to better their lives and the lives of their families, which is what I feel this country was based off of and what did make this country great in the limited time that it was great. And on that note, I'm going to get out of here.